Today, we are talking our curriculum hits, misses, and ones that just turned out a little bit different for this 2024-2025 school year. We're going to be talking specifically about my elementary kiddos curriculum, and then I'll be sharing a separate video about my high schoolers and middle schoolers, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. So let's get started. First up, let's talk about a few of our misses. First up on the list would have to be our life skills activities for special children. Now, I was really excited about this book at the beginning of the year, and I'm not excited. But what this book was designed to do is to work for K through 5th grade, and it goes through different life skills that your child needs to learn. So it talks about what to do if you're lost. It talks about telephone skills here, talking about going through and dialing numbers. It talks through what kind of information is appropriate to give, when to use 911, 411, 0, so on and so forth, right? And it goes through a wide variety of skills. It is not that this book really didn't deliver on what it promised. It just was not as easy and open to go as I had hoped. So we are still utilizing this, but I've been utilizing it more as a jumping off point to come up with additional activities. Every single lesson comes with an initial lesson that you read and an activity or two to practice. Definitely built more for a classroom style setting, so it's not a bad thing. It just requires some adaptation. So it was a miss because it wasn't exactly what I had hoped, but I do think it's still a good resource. Another miss for me personally was the CLE reading program. So let me clarify this. My two youngest kiddos are partially homeschooled by myself and partially homeschooled by my friend Wendy over at Plan Prep Pray. Wendy uses CLE curriculum and absolutely loves it. And I've honestly never tried it before her doing it with my kids, and I have been really impressed with the curriculum overall. The reading, however, though, has been a little disappointing. You start out with the pre-K kindergarten curriculum, which I loved, and I actually utilized in my homeschool before she was doing it. And then they went into learning to read, which I was also very impressed with. After learning to read, though, they go into reading 1. And from my understanding, I haven't used this for years, so if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me down in the comments. But from my understanding, from reading 1 on, it is really transitioning to less teaching how to read and more reading to learn. What the problem with that is that my kids just needed more reading practice. They spent 1 year learning to read instead of spending a couple of years really refining those skills. And I think they just need more repetition than that. These reading books have readers that go along with them, and the stories are great. They are a little long, but they're good. And then the actual book that they're doing for reading is going over comprehension questions and doing what are words that are compound words, and is this real or is this pretend, right? Is it telling a statement or a question, or is it a full sentence? So good things, but not exactly what they needed. They needed more practice on the actual learning to read aspect. Now, that being said, the language arts program is something that we have really loved, and we are going to continue it next year. It actually goes into a lot of important topics, and I really was impressed with the language arts curriculum. They are two separate things, but the reading was just a little disappointing because it felt like it kind of pushed them through things a little too fast. Speaking of reading, though, that brings us to a few of our big hits for this homeschool year. For my older elementary daughter, we were using All About Reading. We are still using All About Reading, and it was a huge hit. So much so that I'm actually next year going to be taking my two younger ones and moving them into All About Reading as well. It just gives a really thorough, good look at reading. It gives them that practice that they need, and it doesn't rely heavily on sight words. It actually breaks down why each word says each thing. So even when you see a word you've never seen before, you actually are able to properly decode it. And I just feel like that's something they still could use some practice on. So we will be moving to All About Reading for next year. And then, of course, in that vein, All About Spelling was a huge hit as well with my daughter. We are almost done with level 2. We'll be going into level 3 next year. And she just eats it up. She adores it. She's really enjoying the colored version. So she's enjoying having those extra activities. We don't use them every single time, but she enjoys having the opportunity when she is stuck on a concept, having ways to make it a little bit more fun and interesting to practice those new words. Another hit for this year was the Training Aliens program. This is put out by Fun to Learn. They put out Grammar Galaxy as well, and they actually just came out with a Training Aliens level 2 that you can order. This is going through teaching manners, teaching social skills, those kinds of things, and we used it in our homeschool co-op, and the kids love loved it. We talked through like what is a personal bubble and how close we stand to a friend versus how close we stand to a stranger. We talked through things like how do we greet people. We talked through sharing. We talked through all sorts of things, and we did it with multiple ages, and it worked really well. The lessons are laid out with lots of activities, and you could definitely go through all of them if you were using it at home. But I enjoyed as a co-op teacher being able to go through and pick those things. Like this was a gratitude scavenger hunt that we did, being able to pick the things that applied most or that worked well for the age groups that we had. And the best thing is it's actually licensed for co-op use, so you don't actually have to pay extra to be able to utilize it in your co-op. Of course, our Apologia Science is always a favorite, and they really loved this swimming creatures of the sea. They enjoyed diving into all of the ocean topics, and we wrapped it up this year, and they were a little sad. They were like, it's over. I was like, yes, but we'll be jumping into Zoology 1 next year with flying creatures, so not gone for too long, but they enjoyed really getting to do this. And alongside the discovery decks, that is something that they really enjoyed as well. These discovery decks are not from Apologia, they are from Waldock Way, and they enjoyed pairing those together. It is fun little cards that your kids can scan the QR code as a question on there, and it'll take them to a video that gives them the answer to it. I did a whole video on what the discovery decks are and how you can utilize them in your homeschool, and I'll leave a link down for that in the description below. But those were two things that we paired together for science that they absolutely adored. Now that we've talked about a few of our hits and misses, I want to talk about those things that are kind of in between, things that went differently than expected. Not good, not bad, but there was adjustments that needed to be made. The first of those is Math UC. So we finished up alpha. We started Math UC in the middle of a year. So we did like half of alpha, half of beta this year. Then we'll do half of beta, half of gamma next year. That's just kind of how it goes. And Math UC has been going well. We're doing it just for my daughter with medical special needs. She just needed a little bit more of a mastery approach. However, she is getting fatigued with staying in one topic for so long. But it is working, and it is helping her to kind of get those concepts to stick. So what our solution has been to this is that we started out just using Math UC, and then now we have paired it with Apologia Math. We had her take a placement test, and she placed about halfway through the level 1 of Apologia Math. So we just went ahead and started in the half section there. And so we've been doing the last half of level 1, and then we'll be moving into level 2 next year. And it's been really good to pair these two together because this math is much more hands-on. It's much more fun. There's a lot of repetition through games, and it definitely covers a wider variety of topics than Math UC. But if she was just doing this, she probably wouldn't be able to really grasp and understand the concepts. At least that's what we have seen in the past, to get it to where it sticks in her long-term memory due to her special needs and the different ways that God has designed her. She just doesn't grasp information without having a lot of repetition. So these two together have paired and made a perfect pair, and we're excited to continue that for next year. And speaking of math, CLE Math is what we used for my younger two, again, because that's what Wendy was using over in her homeschool, and it's not been bad at all. It's actually been good. This is a very rigorous math. So even though it says math level 1, it is more equivalent to second grade math for sure. It definitely is covering a lot of different concepts. This is one of the later books. This is the last one that they have left to do, and it is going through a lot of multi-digit addition and subtraction, even 3-digit addition and subtraction. It's going through money, it's going through time, it's going through fractions, it's going through a lot of stuff. So I've loved how rigorous it's been because my younger two are very math-minded. That being said, the amount of problems on the page are kind of overwhelming to my ADHDer, and she loves math and she does well with this, but she's been struggling a little bit. So we're considering making some changes for next year. Stay tuned to hear more about what we're doing because I'm not exactly sure what all that is yet, but we're wondering if this is the best fit or if we should go a different direction. Next up is Grammar Galaxy. Grammar Galaxy is what we use for grammar for my daughter who has special needs, and she is doing really well with it. We actually planned to start it at the beginning of the year. We didn't end up starting it at the beginning of the year because various factors years. She was in and out of the hospital a lot at the beginning of this year, had some surgeries and things like that. So we just sort of set it aside to focus on the core things, and then picked it up midway through the year. So we still have a decent way to go with this. We didn't finish as much as we wanted to this year. However, she is able to pick up on these concepts quickly. And so our plan is to actually just finish it over the summer, so we're ready to start the next level. And I love the fact that it is designed to be done over a 3-day schedule, but it definitely can be done if it's not totally new concepts for kids. It can be done in 1 or 2 days. So that's kind of how we're dividing it, is we're doing 1 day if it's something she's familiar with and we just need a little bit of practice. And if there needs more, then we'll spend 2 days on it. It does cycle back through the different concepts. It does have some spiral level to it. So we don't have to worry about getting all the practice in at once. But this grammar has been one that she loves. And even the younger two have been sitting in and listening on lessons because it seems like so much fun to them. So we've kind of been doing it all together as a group, and I have really appreciated that. That's kind of what we've got for this year. Be sure to subscribe so that you can check out my video coming up soon about how my high schooler and middle schooler's curriculum has gone.